Let's Talk About It, aka LTAI. And we got a very important subject matter to talk about today, especially in the day of COVID happening and things of that nature, you know. And so we're going to be talking about a subject matter called entrepreneurship in the 21st century. And so today we have people that we're going to be asking, more importantly, entrepreneurs that we're going to be asking questions. We're going to be diving into their mindset, their understanding. Hopefully they can give some tips on how to start a business, some tips on the ups, the downs, the highs, the lows, and hopefully they can give you some encouragement and support if you have in mind to start a business, or if you have already started a business or struggling a little bit, or if you have a business and just want more tips to how to stay successful. We're going to try to cover all those different types of questions. And so today we have a panel of my big brother, Brandon Anderson. So welcome to the panel, brother, big brother. How you doing today?
I am doing great, I'm excited about tonight. Glad to be a part of the discussion.
Got you. Welcome in. Thank you to the Apostle Joseph T. Hackett. Thank you to Pastor Lacey for allowing me to host today's discussion. Let's Talk About It is basically an opportunity for people to come together and fellowship and talk and share and learn and grow and heal and develop and all of the above. So we appreciate those that are watching. We appreciate those that are going to be a part of this conversation in the internet world and those that are watching. So make sure you're asking questions. Make sure that whatever questions you have, that the moderator can see them so that they can present them in the chat so we can ask those questions as well. But let's dive right into it. So since you are on live, I know we have a few more other guests that may be coming on later, but I'm going to shoot this question to you, Brandon. Mm-hmm. Entrepreneurship in the 21st century, what is it like?
I say it's wonderful. I say entrepreneurship in the 21st century is, I would say it's, it has advanced. The level of playing field has been, you know, it's because of technology, basically. Because of technology, basically, you know, starting your own business, getting the word out there about what you offer, getting new customers. It's essentially way easier than it was in the past. Now, don't get me wrong, there's still hard work that needs to be done. You still have to, you know, get the fundamental things in your business, all that type of stuff. But entrepreneurship in the 21st century is wonderful. It's amazing.
Got you. So let's target our watchers and listeners who may want to start a business, right? Who may want to understand entrepreneurship in the 21st century, right? So let's start off with this question. How would you define entrepreneurship?
Entrepreneurship.
Oh, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How would you define it?
Okay, I would define entrepreneurship as the process of promoting a service that you or your business can offer to the public. You know, to me, it can entail many different definitions, but I would say in whole, entrepreneurship is creating, building, and pushing forth a business, an idea, a service, supply and demand to a community, to a certain targeted audience. That would be kind of like my idea, my definition.
Okay, so let's be honest with the people watching, right? Let's be honest with the people listening. Is entrepreneurship for everybody? The reason why I ask that is because it's a lot of push, right? Saying, hey, start your business, don't work for nobody. But then in my mind, I'm like, well, if you start a business, somebody's gonna work for you. So why are you telling people not to work for nobody, but you're gonna need somebody to work for you? So,
Exactly.
always have these types of like thoughts is like, okay, if entrepreneurship, right, is this beautiful thing, then why isn't it for everybody? I'm not saying it's not a beautiful thing, but back to the question, is it for everybody?
I would say no, for a lot of reasons. I mean, let's just talk about hard work. I mean, um, a well-known fact is that when you start a business, it takes a while for you to, profit or to be in the black. You have your startup costs.
Well,
You have
when you say in the black, explain that to the people who might not know.
So in the black means to the point where you're actually making a profit from your business that you can actually say, okay, I've made this amount of money from my business. So some businesses will start and maybe in 5 years, then they begin, or 10 years, then they begin to see a profit because the initial years are investments and building. That is very, common. And the reason why I say one of the reasons why I say it's not for everybody is because some people can't last 6 months to a year without seeing the profit. And they'd be like, man, forget this. I'm out of here. I'm
So,
going back to.
so people start businesses and they have in their mind, yo, I'm about to make this money. And then 6 months later, they realize, oh, I'm losing money in the front end.
Exactly.
God.
Yeah, they don't understand that you're not losing money in the sense. It's just all part of the plan. Number one, you should have projected from the beginning that you aren't going to take off in the black. You have to project your investments and then kind of see how things are growing. And then, at a certain point, then, okay, now you can see your profit. You begin to pay off certain things that you needed to start the business. All of that is a part of it. I'll give one example, one that I'm very familiar with, right? The music industry. We all know, we've seen the movies about artists. An artist gets signed to a label, they quit their day job, and they record this album. The label gives them in advance, and they think that they can just, that they made it off, this is their first album, by the way. And after the first album, they realize they're in the red because the record label may have spent $2 million promoting this album, and the album only made back maybe 1 million. So you're 1 million in the red. So now you got to, on your second album, they might not need to spend as much money breaking you because now you have an audience. So they might spend 1 million on the second album and it may sell 1 million copies. And it may profit 1 million, but you're still in the red. So then on the third album, you might eventually start to see a profit because now they can spend less money promoting you because you have more of a name. And so finally on the third album, you can see some money. But some artists may get disgruntled from the first album and say, man, I did all this work and I ain't got no money. I'm out. That's just an example of an industry or a business where you don't really see a lot of money from the very beginning. You have to keep going. So.
Got you. Would you say that no matter what type of business you have, that there are a lot of fundamental similarities?
Oh yeah, most definitely. You have your startup costs.
Those.
Your fundamentals is, well, what kind of business are you going to be? Are you going to be an LLC? Are you going to be in a corporation? You have to do your research first to see what kind of business am I going to be so that you can become official. And then once you become official, then you can actually have, okay, well, what is my business going to be called? That's called a fictitious name. For example, like Walmart, I'm not sure if that's their legal name, but that might be their doing business as. It's called a DBA. So you have your incorporation, however you incorporate it. Then you have your name, your DBA. You follow that with your local city or whatever. And now that you are incorporated, and it's very important, number one, to be, incorporated, because you don't want to go into business and somebody slip and fall in your place of service and they sue you. Then they can get everything that you have. They can sue and get your house, your car, and all that stuff. But the shield of an LLC or corporation that protects you personally, and they can sue the business, not you. And usually your business has insurance, which is another fundamental thing. So all these fundamental things are important. And so now when you get incorporated, you have your name. Now, well, where's the investments coming from? How much is it going to cost? You gotta, nowadays we're in a virtual world, so many people can work from home, but a lot of places still require a physical place of business. So you have rent, you have employees you got to pay. You have advertisement if you're going to do that. If you need advertisement to get the word out, you need product. All these things, that's initial investment before you can even make a sale. So those are some of the fundamental things. And then how is my business going to be marketed? What is our brand? What is going to separate us? What separates McDonald's from Chick-fil-A? Number one, so we might set out and say, well, you know what, we're gonna have the best service in the world. No matter, I don't care if we come in and we break our leg, we're gonna give that chicken sandwich with a smile, and we're gonna make them feel like, we're just gonna. I mean, I remember having kind of a bad day, and just from the person talking to me in the Chick-fil-A line, like I felt so much better. So again, what is your business going to be known for? So those are some of the fundamental things.
So how long have you been in business?
Wow. So
what's the name of your business?
Okay, so let me see. Now I've been doing what I've been doing for a long time, but I officially became incorporated in 2003. My LLC name is BJ Music Group, and I have a couple of DBAs: BJ School of Music, BJ Music without the LLC, and BJ Entertainment. Those are all different businesses.
So it's a label and a school.
Yes, I have a music school, a record label, and an artist management company.
Okay, and an artist management. Okay, cool. Well, let me ask you a question. When it comes to entrepreneurship, right, what are some of the things that it requires in terms of starting a business from the perspective of finding out what you should go into business doing? How does somebody determine that? Let's just say I'm Joe Blow off the street, and I say, Mr. Anderson, I want to start a business. What kind of business should I start? How would you guide that person, for those that may be watching, who may be like, I don't know what type of business to start?
All right. Number one, and I may over answer this, but again, if somebody came to me and say, okay, I want to start a business, I would probably ask them a couple of questions. I would say, okay, number one, what is it? What do you offer? What is your service? What do you do? Do you do hair? What is it that you're going to offer? What are you passionate about? For example, if you have always been into, hair and doing hair and, even maybe cosmetology, all that stuff, okay, maybe you might be in that industry. If you were, you just maybe have loved to cook all your life, so the conversations will be, okay, well, what are you passionate about? What are you good at? And then from there, we can say, okay, well, maybe you can go into this industry or that industry. And then from there, then we can begin to sit down and say, well, okay, well, how does this look? Do you really need to get more educated? Do you need a degree? Because some industries, you really need, maybe higher education to do well in your field or something like that. And other fields, you don't maybe need much education at all. So those would be some of the beginning questions I would ask. And then of course there would be other questions.
Yeah, I fully agree. Me starting the business that I started, TRM Global LLC, but I also have a nonprofit, the Renaissance Movement. So I have kind of like that nonprofit area with the Renaissance Movement, and I have TRM Global LLC, which is a business conglomerate where we do events, music, and more importantly, one of my new babies, Forever Love, right? And that business is where we help educate people on relationships and how to manage relationships, how to go about relationships, and how to become the best individual, whether it's single, in your dating, in your engagement, or your marriage phase, of the best person you can be. And so we do a lot of consulting, counseling, and things of that nature. But one thing I've learned about being in business is this, and I want to encourage everybody to hear this very clearly. I agree 100%. Start a business that you're passionate about. Start a business of something you love to do. But I want to encourage everybody, if you don't know what your passion is per se, that doesn't mean you still can't start a business, because sometimes you can start a need-based business. And I think those are the most successful businesses. A need-based business can sometimes be relative to the individual, right? Somebody may say, hey, I don't need to learn how to play piano. Well, you have a whole school that says otherwise. Some people may say, I don't need no help with relationship advice. Well, I have clients that would say otherwise. So a need-based business is not always factual, but it's about understanding that you're starting a business based on a need, because a need always needs to be supplied because there's a demand for it, right? So that would be my encouragement point to anybody that wants to start a business. Focus on a need-based business. I'm not telling you not to make a clothing company or a t-shirt company, but there's a trillion of those. I'm not saying that, you shouldn't start a cookie company. There's a million of those. The point is, make sure it's either your passion or it's a need. For example, people always need their taxes done. People always need their cars fixed. People always need a haircut. People always need their hair done. So you have all of these people always gonna die. So a funeral home, you have all these great opportunities for need-based businesses, right? To where, typically speaking, unless it's just the whole world comes to an end, that there's always going to be a need for it, and there's always going to be a customer base for it. And so the next question I want to kind of bring to the table for you, Brandon, is this. Doing business in this era is totally different than doing business back in the 50s and 40s and the 60s, I'm pretty sure. So would you say that technology has made it easier for people to do business in the 21st century?
It's funny that you asked that, because okay, I'm gonna answer it in a couple of ways. Absolutely. And I would say this. For example, let's stay with the music industry, because I know about the music industry. Now, if you're an artist trying to get your music out there, I mean, back in the day, you really needed pretty much a record label to get your music out there, to get it on the radio, to get on television, all that stuff. But now with technology, anybody can upload your music. And now, like, you have your playlists, you got Spotify, Apple Music, all this stuff is on the rise, Pandora. I mean, just as much people now are listening to streaming as radio, maybe. I don't know all the exact numbers. But in that instance, technology has made it very easy to, get your music out there as a recording artist. Now, of course, streaming doesn't pay as much as sales did back in the day. So you have to, really get a lot of streams and things like that nowadays. But I would say, again, because the question is, how has technology affected?
How has technology made it easier to do business? Has it allowed you to be more fluent in business?
Yes. Now, so let me say, has it made it easier? In some aspects, no, because, wear a couple of hats. So I'm a recording artist in a group, but I'm also a record label. Now, for record labels, technology has actually kind of hurt us a little bit, because now people don't necessarily have to buy CDs. You just listen, you just stream, and that's a totally different world from when I grew up. When I grew up, I couldn't wait to go to the store and buy the CD and open it up and read about, who wrote the song, who did this, all the credits and all that stuff. But technology in a way has kind of hurt the recording industry. But again, stepping outside of music, for example, my other business, like take my music school, technology, of course, has helped, I would say, like businesses that offer music lessons, because now we can reach more clients virtually. People can take singing lessons online. People have, before COVID, I didn't even know how smooth this would be, but we've had great piano lessons online. We even do drum lessons now online, and we're able to reach more people. We have students in New York, Maryland, um, uh, overseas. Trying to think of that, one of my students. But so in that aspect, technology has again made the playing field wider for your reach. You're not limited to just your surroundings. You can have customers around the world. Everybody knows about social media. You can advertise your products online. So yeah, definitely, it's like social media has definitely, I think without social media, we wouldn't be, Marlon, as you know, if those who don't know who are watching, Marlon is a GI member, God's Image. And one of our first opportunities happened from MySpace, from technology, because we met one of our first producers, Derek Clark, on MySpace. And that record was like a change in record for the group that really started our career. Had we not had technology, who knows, I would have had to go to these conferences that we used to travel to and meet with people or sit down with people. But again, with technology, you can network with anybody. I mean, you can reach out to mostly anybody. Mostly everybody has a social media account, be it Facebook or Instagram, or they may not, or they have an assistant that you can talk to. So yeah, technology, I just look at technology and I'm like, man, some of these people have it so easy now, easier than what we had growing up. But it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
So yeah, and to your point, for my business, for example, all people have to do is go on my website, book a time, book the package they want, and I literally just jump in front of the Zoom and I let them in and we get started. So for me, technology is great for Forever Love, right? For the music, technology is great because people are just downloading my music to their phones. They're just watching from wherever they want in their convenience. Now, for the brick and mortar, and for anybody that doesn't know, a brick and mortar is basically a business to where you have to go inside the building to get their services, right? So for example, a UPS, USPS, FedEx, or any mailing spots, you have to go inside to mail the package. That's what you would call a brick and mortar, right? A Walmart, a Smith's, or whatever grocery store you go to, or whatever city you're in, those are brick and mortar businesses, right? But the good thing is now a lot of these brick and mortar businesses are also offering delivery and pickup and online purchasing for pickup. So everybody's adapting. So technology seems to be really rechanging how we do business, no matter what type of business you have, And I think one of the most important things for entrepreneurs to know is this: you have to be adaptable, because you never know what the climate is going to cause. You almost have to kind of foresee what's going to happen in the future. Like, it's good that you're doing business now, being successful, but what does it look like 10 years from now for your specific business, right? So let me ask you this question. What are some of the mistakes that people make as entrepreneurs in the 21st century that you've seen?
Well, what I'll do is, and I'm glad we talked about the definition. I'm going to read the definition and then I'm going to answer that question. Entrepreneurship, the official definition, it says the activity of setting up a business or businesses, taking on financial risks in hope of a profit, So sometimes I think the first mistakes people make is on day one, when they start their business, they quit their jobs. And they're like, okay, I done got my business going and here we go. And then they get frustrated because the business is not booming enough to pay them what they just did to leave their jobs. But number one, that's not even supposed to be in your pocket yet. That money goes back again to the foundation of the investments, the products that you need, your staff that you don't have money yet to pay. You can't pay yourself. And any good boss knows that. Any good CEO, you got to, your staff come first. You got to pay your staff. So I think one of the first mistakes people make is that when they start a business, they quit their job. And you might say, well, how can you work a job and do a business? Well, where there's a will, there's a way. when I started BJ School of Music, well, no, I'll say this. When I started, yeah.
You go to work during the day and you work on your business at night.
That's right. Yeah. You know, when I was teaching music, I was a music teacher at Arthur Ashe Elementary School. I would wake up at 5 something, be in the building by 7, teach. Then I would get off. Then I would do work probably for my record label. It just seemed like I was working like up until 11 or 12. Then I would just do it all over again. You know, I was always working. Even when I started my school, I remember I was teaching in the county. Even years after I had left my full-time teaching, I always wanted to, you know, keep steady income. So I would do substitute teaching. And, you know, if somebody calls me for a student, you know, I would be like, okay, y'all keep working, keep working. Can I help you? You know, you got to be, you know, because you're not really supposed to be doing all that. And I say, like I said, it's everybody's not made for that. Or, you know, on your lunch break, you return the 10 calls you missed. But eventually, the beauty of entrepreneurship is that, like, when you actually start seeing like it work, it's like, wow, it was all worth it, you know. And I remember when I could actually just do the school, and I was like, wow, God, we did it. You know, it was all worth it. I mean,
I think you hit on a very important point too that I want to highlight. I think one of the mistakes that people make is, you know, to your point, just kind of like a little branch off. The mistake people make is that when you go into business for yourself, that is, while it can be rewarding and while it can pan out, I think people make the mistake of misunderstanding what they're actually getting into. I think their perception of what they're getting into is off. I try to tell people this, right? If you're tired of working for somebody else, you might be even more frustrated working for yourself, because you clock in when they tell you to and clock out when they tell you to. But guess what? You ain't got nothing else to do. But when you work for yourself, there's always something to do. Because when you clock out from your job, your boss is thinking about the stuff that you are going home. See, when you clock out, your boss is thinking about the stuff you don't think about when you go home to play with your kids, play with your dog, walk the neighbor, or whatever. Not walk the neighbor, walk the dog, play with the neighbor, etc. So I think sometimes, and especially in our generation, because this is the entitled generation, that's what a lot of people has labeled it for various reasons. It's neither here nor there, but it's a gimme, gimme, gimme generation. It's a I want, you know, but it's also one of the most intelligent generations, the most imaginative generations, right? And so, but a lot of people misunderstand that working for yourself is sometimes worse than working for somebody else in the beginning, really for the first few years, because there is no clocking out. There is no clocking in. When you wake up, you already clocked in. You never clocked out when you went to sleep. So, and you got to understand, you don't get to go out like you used to, because while your friends out partying, you got stuff to be doing, and now they're wondering why you ain't out, what you doing, yada yada yada. Life changes, you know. So don't misunderstand that entrepreneurship, especially in the first few years, is really about you working 12-hour shifts and not 8-hour shifts. It's really about you working 7 days a week, not 5 days a week.
Absolutely. And if I can just add to that, the beauty of that is this. Yes, you work longer than the average person. You work harder than the average person, but it's beautiful. Like, you know, I mean, I'm just saying right now, if I didn't have goals and ambitions and everything, I mean, I could probably just, I don't want to say retire or anything, but like, I don't have to do what I'm doing, but I don't have time for that. I have so much more to do. But the thing is this, if you work hard enough, like it will pay off. Like, but that's the point. You have to put in the work on the front end. So again, I now would like to add another answer to that question. So again, the first thing was people, you know, they quit their jobs thinking that they can just only do their business. But then another thing is lack of research, because you got to research, number one, maybe what other businesses are around you that the business that you're about to go into, the industry, what is your competition around you? What are their prices? What do they offer? You know, I won't, of course we won't name names, but I remember years ago, there used to be a soul food restaurant in town. And I remember one time the CEO, the boss was complaining. It was like, people are so cheap. Like that was actually the owner of the restaurant. I was like, wow, you know, It was like, but then people don't want to buy anything. I don't know. They were kind of just ranting. But I was thinking in my head now, that crab cake sandwich was like $20 now. Come on now, But I mean, and eventually they went out of business. So I don't know all of what happened, But I'm just saying that to say sometimes maybe do your research, like check your price points. Are you priced right? Are you over delivering? Like people, when they pay $5 for something, they should feel like they're getting $10 worth of whatever they just got. You should wow.
Let me add to that. I think the reason why, especially not to make this a cultural thing, but a lot of times the issue in our community is people feel like Black owned businesses are more unprofessional. They are, more high priced, less quality, and all these different narratives. And some of that may be true, but at the same time, other cultures have that same issue as well. So we're not here to talk about who's less, who's more. But the reality is, when you're just dealing with the generalization of business, price points, quality, professionalism, all of these things, I think we all can agree are primary at the top of the list, right? Professionalism, price points, all these different things. And I think what a lot of businesses run into is that they have to charge more for their manufacturing or their products. So it's almost like they're struggling to survive because they have to charge so much money just to not stay in the hole. And so what I want to encourage people to understand is that if you have a business where your margin of profit is difficult to really tap into because of the cost of labor or the cost of manufacturing or the cost of the supplies or whatever the case may be, you have to do some internal work within your business and really put the hours in to assess, all right, why do I have to charge so much? Do I need to bring down my profit? Which is one of the things you alluded to, Brandon, is that you're not going to make as much money as you want in the beginning, right? Maybe you can't sell the hoodie for $40. Maybe you got to sell it for $30 and break even for a year or two, and just keep sowing into your business, keep investing into your business. So I think for a lot of people, they're so busy trying to make money and they're overcharging. But sometimes you got to bring that price point down, make a profit of a few dollars or break even. Some businesses even just go in the hole continuously until that big break. So you have to kind of make your own choice as to what's beneficial to you. But in all of this, how important is leadership as a CEO?
Oh, wow. Leadership is everything. I mean, if your staff, if your company, if they see you coming in, I don't know, late, if they see you, treating the customers a certain way, I mean, it just trickles down, kind of like Psalms 133, it runs from the head down to the beard. So leadership is very important. And, I think I read somewhere, and I'm not going to quote it right, but like a good leader, like it's almost like they serve. It's not about dictatorship. You teach them how to be great people. You empower them. And so leadership, again, is everything. When I was, again, and this is why everything works for good, even in my years of building, and I was trying to get ahead and get to the next level, looking back, sometimes you look back and say, okay, did I really take notes? Did I learn everything I needed to learn in each season? Because there's something to learn in every level that you're at in life. And I can say one of my points that I made earlier was Arthur Ashe Elementary. I had a great principal, and I just learned from her. I learned how to like handle people. Like she knew how to like handle tense situations with ease and calm. She knew how to be down to earth, and she knew how to kind of have fun with it too. And I learned a lot from her about how to handle people, how to be a people person. And so I've been in schools where people dread their boss, their principal, and they like, oh, here they come again. So leadership is very important because your people are let's just be real, we're all human beings. So if I don't respect you, if I don't feel respected, if I don't feel like I'm getting my worth, I'm not gonna give you my best work. And then that's just not gonna be good all the way around. So leadership is very important. Valuing your staff, valuing your company, valuing your customers. Without great leadership, it's just a crumbling situation. So
yeah, I think it's important for people to know that whatever your weaknesses are as a leader, you need to bring in people around you that can make up for those weaknesses. And I think one of the mistakes a lot of people make is they underestimate their weaknesses, or they abandon or disregard their weaknesses. And so that stuff starts to show in their business. It starts to show up in their business, right? One of the things I try to do is recognize my weaknesses and bring in people who are strong in that area to really help with the business and with my nonprofit, right? And so as it pertains to leadership, I think leadership is really the backbone and the foundation of any successful business. Granted, there are successful CEOs out here who have bad attitudes, but you can't take away their intangibles. You can't take away their work ethic. You can't take away from all the other aspects that they bring to the table. So there is kind of like a whole list of leadership qualities that is necessary to be a CEO. And I think everybody wants the title, but don't want the character of a CEO, or the intentions of a CEO, or the work ethic of a CEO, right? But let's talk to some people real quick who already have a business. Let's just say they already have a business. They've gone through the process, right? Let's give them some step-by-steps. You got to go online to your SCC, that's your State Corporation Commission, in whatever city you're in. You got to file your paperwork, right? Make sure the name is not taken, okay? Mm-hmm. I would encourage everybody to go to GoDaddy and see if the website is available for your business name also before you start your business, okay? But figure out your name of your business, right? After you figure out what you want to do, what business you want, file the paperwork, whether it's an LLC, a corporation, an S Corp. You got to do your own research. We only have an hour, but you do your research on that, okay? But an LLC is generally the type of business the general person will start, because it's a lot simpler, it's easier, it protects you and your personal things. So the LLC is perfect for the beginner and the starter of most companies. But after you do that, okay, what you want to do is make sure that if any DBAs you want to set up, fictitious names, you file that paperwork. So those are some of the preliminary things you do to start a business, okay? Get your business license if your state or city requires it. For example, in Las Vegas, my nonprofit, the Renaissance Movement, we don't have to have a business license, but my for-profit business, TRM Global LLC, we have to have a business license. So those are intricate things you have to research about your city or your state. But after they've done all that, and they've been trying to get their business going and doing good here and there, peddling water, Brandon, what would you say is some key principles on how to grow their business?
Okay, growing your business. One of the things that I've learned about is something, it's called like marketing ponds. And so what that means is that you should have several ways that you're promoting your business, because everybody learns differently. So the way that you grow your business is, let's just start from a grassroots level. You might have 10 customers in your new salon. You can have like a referral contest where the customer that refers the most people, their next appointment is free. The referral system, word of mouth. I'm telling you, I believe that in all of the marketing that I've done at the school, word of mouth is still one of the top things, because we always ask, well, how did you hear about BGA School of Music? And they'll say, well, I heard about y'all, because somebody told me about y'all, or because I saw somebody in the grocery store and they told me about y'all. And that's why customer service is key, because people will either talk good about you or they'll talk bad about you. I was excited when I learned that we had a 5-star on Google. I don't know, I guess that's a good thing. But so to growing your business, again, word of mouth, create a referring culture within your business. Give people incentives to talk about your business. Number 2, the way to grow your business, advertise. Now, again, that depends on your budget, your initial investments of what you have. You can do now in today's world, you can do ads on Facebook, ads on Instagram, And you have to learn what works for your business. For me, one of the best things that I've always worked is word of mouth, radio ads, and signs in the ground. Those have been our number one. Whenever we ask people, they'll say, "Oh, well, somebody told us, or we heard your radio ad." And again, the Bible says there's time, seed, and harvest, right? Again, you can't expect your big harvest overnight. We've had people that came to the school, and I'll be like, "Well, how did you hear about us?" And they'll say, "Oh, we heard your ad on the radio 3 years ago, so we finally decided to give you a try." We have people coming to the school from years ago investments, but now it's paying off, and that happens frequently. They'd be like, "Yeah, we heard about y'all like years ago, and we kept hearing about y'all, so now we're gonna finally give y'all a try." Um, so again, get people talking about your business, word of mouth. If you have the capital, do some advertisements, do some ads on social media. If you can afford radio, and if that's appropriate, sometimes radio is not needed, sometimes it could be. You can do television commercials if you need to. But again, starting off, you want to keep your costs low. So again, grassroots promotion. Again, those signs that we put in the ground, that don't cost a lot of money. Word of mouth is free. And when your business begins to grow, you know, again, people need to recognize your business. So branding is important so that they can recognize, oh, that's so-and-so,
Like set yourself apart.
Yeah, set yourself apart so that your business can always come back to, oh yeah, I know who they are. That's that business. That's that business. Make sure you have a strong branding campaign, branding yourself. And then after that, as far as growing, when you start growing, don't forget the principal things. Like when you started with 5 customers and now you have 50, don't stop being polite to people. Don't stop overextending yourself to make sure that they're getting the best service. Don't feel like you've arrived, because you will go down quickly. Trust me, people will be like, oh, forget this, I'm going to such. Don't feel like you are ever at a point where you don't have to do what you did in the initial beginning. That's very key. And when you start getting money, it may be wise to, maybe hire a financial advisor or something like that, so that you won't splurge, or that you won't, waste your money. I heard Tyler Perry say, no matter how much money he's made, he always operates from a sense that he's broke, or something like that. So don't forget, like when your money starts coming in, don't forget about maybe that $3,000 credit card bill that you have that you need to start wiping out, that you needed to start the business. Like, don't start splurging and, taking round trips and all that stuff. Put it back into your business. Update some things in your business. Make sure you have quality, a quality presentation when people walk in, so that's what I would say.
Okay. So we got a few more minutes. We're going to play what I want to call Entrepreneur Rapid Fire. You ready? But you have to answer the questions. You can't.
Oh, you say
I
what?
said we're about to play what I call Entrepreneur Rapid Fire.
Rapid fire. Okay.
So you have to finish the sentence.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I hope so.
But you can only have a one word or one phrase answer.
Okay.
You ready?
Yep.
Entrepreneurship is not for you if you won't
work hard.
Entrepreneurship is not something you should get into if you can't
sacrifice.
Entrepreneurship is difficult because
you put out more than you get in initially.
Entrepreneurship in the 21st century is rewarding because
21st century, because why is it rewarding? And it's rewarding in the 21st century. It's always rewarding because it's something that you built, and it's something now that you can offer to people. You built it. So that's what I would say.
All right. Real CEOs always
give back.
It sounds like you wanted to keep answering that one.
Yeah, they give back to the people that help make them successful. They give back and they take care of their people. That's what I wanted to say.
You should not start a business if you struggle to
budget.
That's a good one. That's a good one. All right, last one. Entrepreneurship in the 21st century is something everybody should be a part of and get involved in.
That's a question?
I just wanted to see what you was going to do. No, it's not a question.
I would say, yeah, hey, go for it. Everybody should try to, like we said initially, it may not be for everybody, but hey, for those who it's for, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And again, you have to enjoy the seasons. Like I look back at some very, times where I wasn't where I am now, but it was still good. It was the building phase. Like people know Herb, like, Herbert Peters, he works for like a couple of, I don't know, major record labels now. But I remember the days where Herb would be on the road with us and he would, be branding us, passing out flyers, selling CDs, hustling, that's the record label side of the business.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when the school only had enough customers, we would do every other Saturday. Now it's just, it's on a whole nother level.
Perfect. That's good. So just as a recap, entrepreneurship is a beautiful thing. Entrepreneurship is rewarding, but it is difficult in the beginning. But those that it's for, you got to persevere. You got to keep pushing. You have to be innovative. You got to set yourself apart. You got to make sure that it's a need-based business. You got to make sure that it's a business that you're passionate about, something that you love doing. Entrepreneurship is not for everybody. Understand that technology drives entrepreneurship in today's world as far as expansion and success because of all the things going on. Also, one of the takeaways from tonight is that you're going to have to work on your business during the day. Go to work during the day and work on your business at night. Sometimes you have to make the necessary sacrifice to be an entrepreneur, understanding that in due season, it will be rewarding, right? Do you ever think there is a time where a CEO just has to cut their losses and say, you know what, this isn't for me. Let me just, go back into a career like, medical field or, therapist. They tried it and you ever think there's a time where somebody tries it and says, you know what, this isn't for me and go back into their career?
Well, believe it or not, I mean, even the Bible says there's a time to give up. Now if you, if you honestly tried it, and it really hasn't worked, you know what though? It may be that you just go back to the drawing board and go back to your job and then you start working again. I remember here Tyler Perry, he had failures after failures. Like nobody would be coming to his shows, his local shows. And I think at one point he was just going to give up. But something happened and then he tried again or something. And I heard this, I think I said this last week. The thing about people that succeed is that they always try one more time. So I don't know if that's a trick question or I didn't know if I answered it because the question was,
I don't know, it wasn't a trick question.
Yeah, I know sometimes should people throw in the towel? Maybe so, or it might be that you just need to kind of regroup and just stop and be like, okay, what's not working? You may need to go back to a full-time job for 5 years to build back up, to try again.
Yeah, I think job shaming has become a part of our culture.
Yeah.
To where we shame people who work at a job and we're telling everybody to start a business, but a lot of people starting a business, they're just really just filling out paperwork and they're not really starting a business. So there's nothing wrong with working a job. That's why I asked that question, because there are some people out there where they tried and it didn't work and they had to go back to their job. And I feel like they don't need to be ashamed. They don't need to, feel embarrassed, because at least you made the effort. And like you said, it may be a time to regroup and wait for another season. So all in all, whatever side of the coin you fall on, understand that it's okay to work a job. It's also okay to start a business. It's okay to have both. Whatever is best for you and whatever is necessary for you to be successful. And most importantly, wherever God is leading you, that's where you need to be. So I want to thank you, Brandon, for being on with us. Appreciate you for talking about this subject of entrepreneurship in the 21st century. Anything you want to say before you go?
Yeah, I would like to say, first of all, congratulations on all that you're doing and all of your businesses. You're definitely an entrepreneur. I always have been. And so I'm excited about, always seeing what you're doing with TRM and now Forever Love. That's a big market. People need guidance in that, relationships, love, marriage. That's big. That's big. And what I would say too is this. What I would say is this. You got to really believe in yourself. And I know that's cliche, but everybody's not going to understand what you're doing. Trust me. When I left my full-time music teaching job, one of my coworkers, Lover, she was like, Brandon, do you understand what you're doing? She was like, do you know, like, if you leave, someone's going to practically have to die for you to get your position back. Because I guess in the music teachers, like that rarely opens up. And once it's filled, and you just sitting around waiting until something else opens up. And she was like, somebody's going to basically have to die for you to even get a job like this again. But, I thought about, and I want to start preaching, but I mean, if you think about it, Christ died for us to live and live abundantly. So he died so that I can have purpose, so that I can fulfill my destiny. And so, I just thought about that and I was like, I got to go. And I'm so glad I did, because I never would have been able to do so many things that I'm doing there that I'm doing now. But that doesn't discount my season there. I loved it there while I was there. I had a great time with the kids, the faculty, everything like that. But it was just my season to go. And now looking back, if I hadn't have stepped out on faith, like I couldn't do everything that I'm doing now. So,
and to your point, people don't recognize fear language. Fear language. It's a real thing. Think about the words that came out of her mouth. Do you know what you're about to do? Fear number one, right? Somebody's going to have to die. Fear language number two. There ain't no coming back. Fear number three. No backup plan. So what happens is, for everybody watching, there's this thing called fear language, and it'll start speaking to you in various ways, through people, through situations, through circumstances. And what happens is, the more you pay attention to that fear language, the more you decide to start responding to the fear language. And once you start responding to the fear language, you start having communication and dialogue with the fear language. And once the dialogue happens, understand how relationships are built. Relationships are built through conversation, and each level of conversation takes you deeper into connection with that thing. So the more you connect in conversation with a dialogue or a conversation or a language, you are becoming a part of that thing, and that thing is becoming a part of you. So what you were able to do was shut off the communication language called fear, and able to kind of let your faith lead you into where God was telling you to go. And that's important, because for most people, they have that fear language conversation, and they end up shrinking in fear, not really doing what they know they can do or should do. The Bible says all things are possible to him who believes. So if you can believe, that's what the scriptures say. If you can believe, but don't nobody believe in me. If you can believe, but my husband don't believe. If you can believe, But my best friend said, if you can believe,
Mm-hmm.
your belief is so powerful, God don't even have to believe in it.
Mm.
How about that?
That needs an offering right there.
If you can believe, if you can believe, if you can believe to him, not to them, not to her, not to those, if you can believe to him or her, all things are possible.
Mm-hmm.
So the real question becomes, is it about the fear or your belief?
Mm-hmm.
And see, what we're trying to help people understand is whatever it is, whether it's entrepreneurship, business, family, marriage, relationship, whatever dynamic. I know we're in a whole nother conversation now, so I'm about to bring it to a close before I go crazy. But the reality is you're alluding to a very important point. Fear, right before you was about to take off, tried to have a conversation with you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you said, man does not live by bread alone.
Mm-hmm.
You said, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. You had the conversation that Jesus had with the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And now, where you are now is successful. Mm-hmm. Thriving in entrepreneurship in the 21st century. So all in all, the only thing that really stops you is fear.
Mm-hmm.
And if fear can stop you, I'll put it this way. The only reason fear exists is because belief was taken off the table. If you put belief back on the table, fear has to disappear because they can't coexist at the same time. So, in conclusion, to everybody who's watching, we thank y'all for being a part of this. We thank y'all for allowing us to share with you. We hope that you learned something. We hope that you've grown from it. We hope that at the end of the day, if you want to start a business, that you don't let your fear take over and that you believe in what God has shown you. You believe in your business. You believe in your ideas. You believe in your creativity. You believe in your purpose. You believe in your identity and all of the above, and that you would launch yourself into purpose and be successful in all your endeavors. Thank y'all for joining us. And that is all we have for today. Thanks again to Brandon Anderson for coming on. Last but not least, where can they find you at, Brandon?
All right. So if you want to take lessons, bgaschoolofmusic.com. That's where you can visit our schools, learn about what we offer, the classes that we offer. As far as the music part, you can visit gi.world, www.gi.world. You can, visit the group on there. Brandon Anderson on Facebook or Instagram for some other things that I'm working on. And so that's how you can reach me.
Perfect. And so if you want to reach me, Artist Anderson, you can reach me on any of the social media networks, Facebook or Instagram. Just type in artist, 7 Anderson. I'll pop up. Also, if you want to book a free consultation for Forever Love to help in your singleness, your dating world, your relationship, your engagement, or your marriage, just go to tryforeverlove.com, everlove.com, and talk to us, book a session, free consultation. We got you back. And if you want to connect with us in any other facet, download the TRM Global app. Download the TRM Global app. We have a question. So we're not going to leave without answering this question.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm waiting. Brother Miles, he is a young, I think he's a 17-year-old entrepreneur in Asheville, North Carolina. He sells essential oils. He's a believer. He's a very strong man, being mentored by Brother Bruce, an apostle. He is a brilliant mind. I'm waiting for him to ask. He has a question about credit. And so I want to make sure that I receive his question before we leave. So I'm waiting on the exact verbiage for his question to make sure that I pose it to you all. If you could, before even, because you all were talking about credit, that's what sparked his interest. So if you could just even elaborate on business credit, personal credit, how that may tie into the need or the support of business credit until I have his specific question.
Okay. Well, credit, of course, is something that is powerful. You know, the thing is this, you may not have a lot of money to start your business, but if you have good credit, you pretty much can get what you need. With good credit, I've always heard
Whatever you want.
yeah, whatever you want. You can have whatever you like, right? Like that song says. But
Who's the
if you
artist,
have,
Brandon? Who sung that song?
I'm gonna be honest.
I always do this to him. For the world, if you're watching, I always do this.
Outcast, no?
No.
Oh, sorry.
It's T.I.
Ti. Okay. But if you have bad credit, I mean, you're gonna have a difficult battle. Now, the ways that you can build your credit, start small. Like you can get a credit card in your name, like not a big limit, but you can make your purchases on your credit card, and every month pay it off. Never have more than 30%, 40% on your card. Don't max it out. Pay of course, your bills on time, that type of thing. And even if you fall into a little situation like everybody has where you've been a little late sometimes, there are services out there, Lexington, companies that can help do the little, intricate stuff that you might not have time to do. And they can work on your behalf to get your credit back up where you need to get it. Because again, if you have good credit, that's going to help you in so many areas. Like you can get the best rates, loan rates on things that you may need. So yeah, that's a little bit about credit.
And also, if you have bad credit, don't let that discourage you. You can still start your business.
Oh yeah.
I'll give my testimony a little bit. Long story short, I moved to Vegas, lost my income, truck went out, all sorts of stuff was happening. I was out here by myself. So, I just had to grind. So I had to find a job. I had to, boom, boom. I had to max out all my credit cards, boom, boom. Long story short, 5 years later, my nonprofit is up and running. My business is up and running. And I'm in the process of correcting my credit as we speak. So so I had to go into a debt settlement program that would help me to alleviate the credit so that I can get out of the debt faster. And I'm almost done with that. But my point is, don't let your bad situation or bad credit stop you from starting a business, because even if you can't get credit lines or even if you can't get banks to give you money, you can still have a good enough product that can make you money based on the amount of supplies and stuff that you have. For example, with my business, I don't have a lot of overhead. Well, what is overhead? Overhead is your expenses. I operate with a laptop, an iPad, Zoom. Mm-hmm. That's it. My nonprofit, we have properties, so that's a little bit different. So we have a building, a brick and mortar, so we have to pay the rent and all that stuff. But there's ways to deal with, there's ways to take care of things, even if you can't get a line of credit. So I just want to encourage those who may have a credit issue, like I did, and say, hey, it doesn't have to stop you. You can still be successful.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you. That actually was his question. How do you build credit? So you all were phenomenal. Thank you. And I don't think we have any additional questions from the Facebook stream.
Perfect. Yeah. So thank you all for watching. See you all next week.